I just wanna get your attention.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Okay. You heard what Usher said. That's what Usher said. Let's go in here. Let's go in here.
I ain't gotta do a lot of flexing.
1, 2, 3.
Shawty, you already know what it is. So my lady say, hey, 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 daddy.
And so here we go again, back with another one. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And before I get started, make sure you guys go and hit that like button for me. And if you're not new to the channel and you enjoy the content so far on this channel, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me as well. And so let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's talk about the big matchup, the big game last night between the Chicago Sky and the Las Vegas Aces, in which the Chicago Sky got the W. They got the upset over the Las Vegas Aces, and Usher showed up after the game and he got back in that locker room. And y'all can say what y'all want to about Wnba players and their orientations, but when Usher showed up, it was a different ball game. I think some of them even might have switched up for a second.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Okay. You heard what Usher said. That's what Usher said. Let's go in here. Let's go in here. Today. This is growth. You came in here, you wanted something, you came in here, you took it. And that's the kind of team we have to be from here on out. So now as you leave, and you leave to go and enjoy yourself because you guys, you deserve this moment. But when you leave, you go work. You go work, because we're going to come back and build off this momentum and do what we said we were going to do from the beginning of the season. All right, we got some things in mind, goals in mind, and we're going to shoot for them. All right, good job right here.
Together on 3, family on 6, 1, 2, 3.
Together!
And so shout out to the Chicago Sky for getting the win over the Las Vegas Aces. That was a big win. That was a big win over the best team in the WNBA with the best player in the WNBA and A'ja Wilson. And so that was no easy feat. And that was a big win because there's an all-star break coming up. And I believe the next game that the Chicago Sky play is going to be around August 15th or so. And so we're talking about a big gap as a lot of women head over to play overseas and head over to play in the Olympics. And so there's a lot of players that are going to get some much needed rest and some much needed time off, especially the rookies that just came in. You know, that's going to be good news for Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, two rookies that were playing at a high level in the NCAA tournament. And then they had a quick turnaround. They had the WNBA draft, and then a couple of weeks later, they were playing in the WNBA. And so that's going to be good news for those players and some much deserved rest for those players. And a big shout out to Kennedy Carter. Kennedy Carter has been in somewhat of a slump by her standards, but she showed up and showed out for this game. She had 34 points while almost shooting 60% from the field.
Lead for Chicago. Help D on Reese. Carter between the legs and sticks it.
And so that was a huge game. If she plays like that, I don't think there's anybody that can compete with the Chicago Sky, because the Chicago Sky has got something that no other team has. With Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese down low, that's an unstoppable force, because A'ja Wilson probably had one of her worst games of the season by her standards. She finished with 28 points, but those 28 points were a hard 28 points. She shot 9 for 21.
One tie in this game. There have been no lead changes. It's been all Chicago with the Aces.
And this play right here is a perfect example. Let me talk about this play real quick. I don't think people really realize just how good Angel Reese is on defense. Although A'ja Wilson hit this shot, Angel Reese made it extremely difficult on A'ja Wilson. You can't play any better defense on this. And it's extremely rare to have somebody Angel Reese's size, somebody who stands around 6'4", to not only defend down low, but also defend laterally, to be able to defend on the perimeter. That's a rare quality. That's something that A'ja Wilson has, but there's probably only a handful of women that size that can defend all over the floor. And so that's a luxury. If you're talking about team defense and the ability to be able to switch out on a guard and to be able to switch out down low, that's a luxury that not a lot of teams have. And that translates to winning, as you can see with A'ja Wilson, as well as Breanna Stewart. Breanna Stewart for the New York Liberty. She's somebody that's in that same boat, somebody who stands around 6'4", but it can also move and defend laterally. And I came across a stat today, a stat that's probably going to go unnoticed by mainstream media, but it speaks to the value of an Angel Reese. Angel Reese finished the game with 13 points and 10 rebounds, so another double-double, but the big standout here is she finished at a plus 26. That's the highest plus-minus in a game by a rookie versus the Aces in WNBA history. And that's very telling because the Aces have been a dominant team for a while now. And just to give you all a little more context on that plus-minus and how difficult it is to play when you're playing the Las Vegas Aces and how stellar their defense is. When Caitlin Clark played against the Las Vegas Aces, she was a game-high minus 19, which was the worst of anybody out there on the floor. And so we're talking about one of the best defenses in the league. And this is why you have to look at all the stats in its totality. You can't just look at somebody filling up the stat sheet and automatically assume that that's the best player in the league or one of the best players in the league. You have to look at everything in their totality. Nobody ever considered James Harden the best player in the league at any time, and he dominated the stat sheet. And that's no dig at Caitlin Clark because James Harden, we're still talking about an MVP of the NBA, so we're still talking about a Hall of Fame NBA player. And so when I make that comparison, I'm not trying to take a shot at Caitlin Clark. I'm just calling a spade a spade. Caitlin Clark is a very talented player, but she's not a complete player. She's a player that's going to need a lot of defensive help around her if she's going to succeed within the WNBA. And it can be done. It can be done. Look at Jokic. Look at Luka Doncic. If you get players around them, if you get good, solid defensive players around them, they can do some things. And so that's no knock on Caitlin Clark. I'm just making a comparison. But hopefully after the All-Star break, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese can continue where they left off and both of their teams can continue to climb the standings. Hopefully these two teams find a way to meet up in the playoffs, and that'll be must-see TV because that's what we want to see. We want to see the storylines. If we could just have Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese face off in the WNBA playoffs, I think that would put a cherry on top. That would be good for the WNBA, and I think that would be good for women's sports in general because now we're talking about all eyes on the WNBA. We're talking about playoff intensity. We're talking about hands in your face. And you never know what you're going to get out of Kennedy Carter. And so that's what we want to see. So hopefully the WNBA can find out a way how to get these two teams to face off against one another in the WNBA playoffs. And so shout out to the Chicago Sky for getting the big win over the Las Vegas Aces and A'ja Wilson. And I think this is probably one of those wins that's going to give them a big boost of confidence before they head into the All-Star break. Just knowing that they can go out there and compete with anybody. They can go out there and win against anybody when they play good ball. And so shout out to them, and hopefully they can get some much needed rest and enjoy the All-Star break and come back and continue and pick up where they left off. But go ahead and chime in below. Let me know how y'all feel about it. And as usual, peace and chaos.